As the minority leader of the Nassau County Legislature, I am proud to deliver the Democratic response. The last 12 months have been a trying time for Nassau County. They've tested our strength, our patience, and our perseverance. This past fall, in a matter of just a few weeks, we endured the tragic loss of our presiding officer, Peter Schmidt, and two courageous Nassau County police officers in the line of duty, Joseph Oliveri, a highway patrolman, and Arthur Lopez of the Emergency Services Unit. In the wake of those losses, we were devastated as Superstorm Sandy ripped through our communities. Many of us were left to sit in the cold and dark for days as confusion, sadness, and frustration swept through our neighborhoods. Homes and businesses were destroyed, families were displaced, and the landscape of our region was forever changed. Now, more than ever, we need a county executive with the vision to lead us out of these difficult times and into a better future. Sadly, it is clear that the Mangano administration has no vision and no long-term plan for our future. Just last week, Northrop Grumman, based down the block here in Bethpage, announced they will cut 850 jobs, just about the remainder of their Long Island workforce. It's a devastating example of how the Mangano administration has failed to propose any type of economic growth to attract or retain businesses that will bring high-tech, high-paying jobs to our region. Week after week, this administration lurches from one crisis to the next. What business or residential homeowner wants to live in a community constantly struggling to pay its bills, taken over by a state agency, NYFA, with bad publicity and negative court decisions criticizing its government leaders and their ability to do the job? When you, the residents of Nassau County, relied upon the Mangano administration to light the path in dark times and provide plans for our future and fiscal recovery, it wasn't there. Over the past year, the county's bond rating was hit with another downgrade, and we ended 2011 with a $50 million deficit. And since County Executive Mangano and Comptroller Maragos prematurely proclaimed a miraculous $25 million surplus for 2012, there have been two major court decisions that have decimated the county's finances, creating millions of dollars in additional liability. That surplus has quickly been turned into a potential massive deficit. With all the problems facing our county, it appears that this county executive has only one solution: borrowing. Borrowing fails to address the root of the problem and only kicks the can down the road. It puts a heavy financial burden on our children and our children's children. We're not the only ones that believe borrowing billions is a bad idea. NYFA has attempted to take away the county credit card. This further proves there are no real solutions coming from this administration. For example, Mr. Mangano promised to fix our assessment system, but the cornerstone of his plan was to push $80 million a year worth of county costs onto the school districts. A state appeals court ruled that Mr. Mangano's attempt to eliminate the county guarantee and make schools pay for the county's assessment errors was illegal and unconstitutional. This maneuver will only guarantee that you will pay higher taxes or destroy the quality of education in our public schools. Our caucus opposed his plan and has called on Mangano to stop passing the buck and instead start addressing the real problem of assessment that he promised to fix. Speaking of shifting costs, let's remember Mangano's plan to privatize our sewer system. Under this plan, a private operator would take over our sewer system and be permitted to raise rates by 3% each year for 48 years. It amazes me Mr. Mangano has the audacity to continually preach that he's not raising your taxes, while he approves plans that push county costs onto the school taxpayers and permits private companies to raise utility rates through the roof. Let's be honest, it's still money coming out of your pocket, and most of us are already maxed out. This administration's perpetual mismanagement has only added to the unprecedented costs of repair brought on by Sandy. But after such a devastating natural disaster, We need to be fortifying our infrastructure, not flat out ignoring it. We had authorized over $400 million in repairs to our sewage treatment plants before Sandy hit, but Mr. Mangano only spent $70 million. So when the storm hit, Bay Park failed, and 65 million gallons of sewage were pouring into our waterways every day. When pipes backed up and burst into the streets, many homes became filled with raw sewage and were destroyed. We all remember the frustration experienced while searching for an open gas station and waiting on lines of 2 to 3 hours. That's why, just after the storm, our caucus filed a law to require gas stations to have an alternate source of power to pump gas during power outages. We know we can't trust LIPA management to get the power back on, so we'll need an alternate way to get the gas out of the ground. Other municipalities have adopted this law, and even the state is considering it, but once again, our ideas have been ignored by the Republicans in Nassau, who continue to refuse any lesson or improve our response to future storms. And yet, Nassau faces other troubling problems that desperately need solutions. The Islanders have announced that starting in 2015, they will be moving to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, leaving the decaying Nassau Coliseum with no anchor tenant. Regardless, the hub still offers us a chance for a bright future. The Barclays Center has rejuvenated a previously hopeless and rundown section of Brooklyn that's now revived and bustling with sports fans and concert goers. We can have that in Nassau. My caucus and I would support a small-scale entertainment and exhibition venue where families can still take their kids to see Disney on Ice, monster trucks, and the circus, where friends can meet for dinner and hang out, where new businesses will want to be. Without this, we'll be forced to drive down and watch the Coliseum crumble as we think of what could have been. The time has come to stop holding press conferences and start building. None of us will ever forget the tragic Newtown, Connecticut shootings and the image that was made our nation weep. We applaud Governor Cuomo and the state legislature for passing the toughest gun laws in the nation. Unfortunately, it troubles me that here at home, instead of investing in our public safety, our county executive and Republican majority decided to close half of our police precincts in an effort to save money. However, only 2 of those closings have been fully implemented. So my question is, how much are we really saving, and is it really worth it? Tonight, I call on Mr. Mangano to recommit to protecting our residents and cease any further precinct closures. These days, it seems as if Nassau County has hit rock bottom. Over the past decade, we made great strides in shedding the label of worst-run county in America. But sadly, it seems any of those gains have vanished in the last few years. Nassau, you gave Mr. Mangano a chance to succeed, but he didn't do it. However, I still believe that there are great things to come for our county. Franklin D. Roosevelt once wrote, "The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today." The Democrats in the legislature have a goal to put Nassau back on solid fiscal footing. As we visualize a better tomorrow, there are no doubts from us that we can rebuild this county from the bottom up. We can create a home that will be proud to hand over to our next generation of Nassau residents. Today, I say to you, in order to restore this county to the ideal place to live, we need to end the partisanship and petty politics, end the borrowing and massive debt. Let us come together and do what we were elected to do, the people's work. Thank you, and good night.